In a small, peaceful village nestled at the edge of a vast forest, life had always been simple. The villagers woke up to the sound of birds singing, and children played in the streets without a care in the world. But everything changed one night, as the quiet darkness of the forest brought something terrifying. It started with a sound, a deep, haunting roar that echoed through the trees. At first, no one thought much of it. Some assumed it was just a wild animal, perhaps a lion or a tiger, roaming the dense forest. But as the nights passed, the roar grew louder and more chilling. It was unlike any animal they had ever heard before. It was powerful, and its tone seemed filled with rage and sorrow, making the hairs on the back of every villager's neck stand up. The villagers gathered in groups, talking in hushed voices, trying to make sense of the noise. "It's just a wild animal," some said. "It'll go away soon." But others weren't so sure. The elders of the village, who had lived through many seasons, began to whisper among themselves. They spoke of a time long ago, when strange things had happened in the village. They spoke of an ancient lion, one that was more than just a beast. According to old legends, this lion had once been the protector of the village, guarding it from invaders and dangers. But as the story went, the lion was cursed by an evil sorcerer, and it became a restless spirit, doomed to wander the forest, seeking revenge. For the first few nights, the roar seemed far away, like a warning. But on the fourth night, everything changed. The roar was louder than ever, shaking the windows of the villagers' homes. It felt like the very ground beneath them was trembling. In the distance, the villagers saw a shadow moving between the trees, a massive figure whose glowing eyes pierced the darkness. Some screamed, while others froze in fear. The air was thick with dread, and the quiet village was no longer the safe haven it had always been. The roar continued, growing closer with every passing minute. People locked their doors and windows, huddling together in their homes, praying the beast would not come for them. But in the deepest corners of the forest, the lion waited, its hunger for vengeance growing stronger with each passing moment. The villagers knew something had to be done, but none were brave enough to face the cursed lion. It was only a matter of time before the beast would come closer, and no one knew what would happen when it did. The night after the terrifying roar echoed through the village, a heavy silence hung over the land. The villagers couldn't sleep. The thought of the haunted lion lurking in the nearby forest kept everyone awake. Whispers filled the air as people gathered in small groups, talking nervously about what they had heard. Some said it was just a legend, but others were convinced it was the cursed lion returned to haunt them all. The next morning, the village was still on edge, and a strange unease filled the air. It was as if the very ground beneath them carried a secret, a dark truth waiting to be uncovered. Life went on as usual, but everyone was too afraid to venture outside at night. Around midday, news spread like wildfire. Mr. Hassan, a well-known farmer who lived on the edge of the village, was missing. His wife, Amina, had called out for him when she noticed he hadn't returned from the fields. She searched the farm, calling his name, but there was no answer. It wasn't like him to disappear without a word, especially not without finishing his work. Desperate, Amina went to the village to ask for help. The men of the village gathered quickly and made their way to Hassan's farm. What they found was strange. His tools were left scattered around the field, and his horse was still tied to the post. But there was no sign of Hassan. His footprints led into the dense forest, but they stopped abruptly at the edge of a small clearing. The group searched the area thoroughly but found nothing. There was no trace of Hassan. All that remained were strange, large marks in the dirt, as if something heavy had dragged him through the forest. The air felt colder, and the villagers couldn't help but shiver as they stood in that eerie clearing. A sense of dread swept over them. Some believed that the haunted lion had claimed another victim. The marks on the ground looked like they could belong to a giant creature, something far too large for a normal lion. The villagers exchanged worried glances, but none dared to speak openly about the beast. They had heard the stories, but no one wanted to face the truth. As the sun set, a thick fog began to roll in from the forest, covering the land in an unnatural stillness. Amina, heartbroken and terrified, was left with nothing but the empty space where her husband once worked. The villagers were too scared to leave their homes after dark, but they all knew one thing for sure: the lion was real, and it had claimed another soul. As the days passed, fear gripped the village tighter than ever. People stayed indoors at night, afraid of the unknown creature lurking in the forest. The villagers were terrified, not knowing if they would be the next to disappear. But amid all the fear, one young man, Ali, stood out. While others locked their doors and whispered in fear, Ali decided he couldn't live in fear any longer. He needed to know what was happening to his village, and he was determined to find the truth. Ali had always been different from the other villagers. While most of them feared the forest and its secrets, Ali had grown up exploring the woods. He knew the forest like the back of his hand and wasn't easily scared. But the stories of the haunted lion filled him with a growing sense of unease. Even though fear tugged at his heart, he felt a deep responsibility to protect his village. Someone had to find out what was going on. One night, after the sun had set and darkness wrapped around the village, Ali prepared to enter the forest. He packed a lantern, some food, and his knife, just in case. The villagers had warned him against it, saying it was too dangerous. "The lion will tear you apart," they said. "It's cursed, and nothing can stop it." But Ali refused to listen. He couldn't sit idly by while his village suffered. With a deep breath, Ali walked into the forest, the familiar crunch of leaves underfoot the only sound in the quiet night. As he ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to press in on him from all sides. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, making it hard to see. But Ali pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. The roar of the lion echoed through the trees, faint but unmistakable. It sent a chill through Ali's spine, but he didn't turn back. Instead, he followed the sound, step by step. After what felt like hours, Ali came to a small clearing. The roar grew louder, and he could feel the ground shaking under his feet. His heart raced as he spotted two glowing eyes watching him from the shadows. It was the lion, but this lion was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, filled with sorrow and rage. The lion slowly stepped into the clearing, its massive form illuminated by Ali's lantern. Ali stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat. But before he could react, the lion spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "You are not afraid of me, are you, young one?" The words seemed to echo in Ali's mind, and he took a step back, unsure if he was hearing things correctly. Ali stood frozen in the clearing, his heart pounding in his chest. The lion's glowing eyes bored into him, as if searching his very soul. The air around them seemed thick with tension, and the forest fell eerily silent. Ali could hardly believe what was happening. The lion, a creature of nightmares, was speaking to him. But it wasn't just any ordinary animal. There was something deeply unsettling about its presence, something more than just a wild beast. The lion's voice echoed again, deep and powerful. "You are not afraid of me, are you, young one?" it asked. The words seemed to vibrate through the air, and Ali could feel the weight of the lion's gaze. His mind raced, trying to process what was happening. The stories, the disappearances, the mysterious roars, everything suddenly made sense, and yet, it didn't. This was no ordinary lion. This was something ancient, cursed, and full of sorrow. I'm not afraid," Ali stammered, though his voice trembled. "But I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Why are you attacking the village?" The lion's eyes flickered with a strange sadness, and for a moment, it almost seemed like the beast was remembering something long buried. It took a slow step toward Ali, its massive body moving with surprising grace. "I was once the protector of this village," the lion began, its voice filled with ancient sorrow. "But I was cursed by a wicked sorcerer many, many years ago." Ali's eyes widened in disbelief. The lion continued, telling its tale of how it had been a guardian, a fierce protector of the village, keeping it safe from invaders and harm. But one day, a dark sorcerer, jealous of the lion's power, cast a spell upon it. The spell turned the lion into a vengeful spirit, forced to roam the forest for eternity, hunting anyone who dared to approach. The lion explained that it was trapped in a never-ending cycle, unable to find peace or rest. "I did not choose this fate," the lion said, its voice full of anguish. "The sorcerer's curse binds me. It forces me to attack those I once protected. My heart is filled with rage, but I cannot control it. I need help, young one." Only you can break the curse that has bound me for so long. Ali's mind raced as the weight of the lion's words sank in. The creature before him was not just a monster, it was a prisoner of its own fate. But could Ali truly help? Could he break the curse and free the lion from its torment? The decision ahead of him would change everything. The haunted lion was no longer the enemy, it was a victim, and only Ali had the power to end its suffering. Ali's heart raced as the lion's words echoed in his mind. The creature before him, once a protector of the village, was now a tormented soul bound by a cruel curse. Ali couldn't believe what he had just heard. The lion's pain, its sorrow, was almost tangible in the cold night air. It wasn't the monster the villagers had feared. It was a victim, a prisoner of the past, doomed to hunt and kill without any control over its actions. The lion stepped closer, its massive form towering over Ali. "You must help me, young one," it rumbled softly, its eyes pleading. "Only you can break the curse. You are the one who can save me from this endless torment. If you don't, I will continue to destroy, to harm the very people I swore to protect." Ali stood there, torn. His first instinct had been to fear the beast, to run and warn the village, to protect them from the danger the lion seemed to bring. But now, faced with the lion's tragic tale, Ali felt an overwhelming sense of compassion. This creature, despite its terrifying appearance, was not evil, it was suffering, trapped by an ancient evil it could not escape. Ali knew that if the lion remained cursed, it would never find peace, and neither would the village. But if he helped the lion, he risked his own life and the safety of those he loved. The forest around them seemed to grow colder, the silence oppressive. Ali thought of his village, the people he had known all his life. The lion's curse had caused so much pain and fear, and he knew that if he failed, it would continue to haunt them all. But could he really break a curse so old and powerful? His thoughts were interrupted by the lion's voice again, softer this time. "You do not have to fight me, young one. I will not harm you. But you must act quickly. The sorcerer's magic grows stronger each day. If the curse is not broken soon, I will be lost forever, consumed by the rage inside me." Ali took a deep breath, his mind made up. He would help the lion. The weight of the decision settled on him, but he knew it was the right thing to do. "I will help you," Ali said, his voice steady despite the fear that still gripped his heart. "Tell me what I need to do." The lion's eyes softened with relief, and for the first time in centuries, it felt a flicker of hope. "Follow me," it said. "Together, we can destroy the sorcerer's magic and free us both from this curse." With a final glance at the dark forest, Ali took his first step toward the unknown. The journey to break the curse would be dangerous, but it was the only way to bring peace to the lion, and to the village.